You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
It is Monday. What is this? March 30th. I had to find the calendar in front of me.
I don't know what day it is anymore.
It is Monday. I know that much. It is Monday, which means it is Mental Health Monday, and we're going full 2 segments on Mental Health Monday today. I don't know why we feel like we need longer Mental Health Mondays these days. But,
I don't know.
There's nothing going on. It is Monday. We have some helpful things to chat about on Mental Health Monday. Thanks to Concordia University, Wisconsin. We love you, Concordia University, Wisconsin. We know things are pretty different there right now, but love sharing that story on Friday about the 3D printers in their Makerspace lab there. Check that out in our archives. Really neat stuff there. What they're doing with the 3D printers, they're printing masks for health professionals, so they can stay safe. That's pretty impressive stuff. All right, it is time for Mental Health Mondays. Deaconess Heidi Goehmann joining us this morning. Good morning, Heidi.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Happy Monday. It sounds like you're having a good Monday. What were you doing? You were doing household repairs before you came on this morning? Is that right?
I did. I had to run around and repair some stuff and then also shuttle my children into our toy room, extra bonus room. They were listening to their awesome Lutheran school devotions from their teachers and stuff. But I was like, you guys, I need you to go to a different area. So good times at the Goehmanns.
They haven't banished you to the game room yet, huh?
They
you
haven't
should just make the game
that.
room into your studio. There you go.
I know, right? We are going to add on to our house. So I'll have a therapy studio and I'll have a whole Mental Health Monday recording area. It's going to be glorious when we save all the money for it.
And Sarah, you're doing well?
Yeah.
Sarah, you're doing well where you are?
We're doing all right. Got outside a whole bunch this weekend because the weather was so nice. So our bikes are getting a lot of use right now because I don't have to, commute to work anymore. And my husband's here right now because, coronavirus. So we're doing a lot of bike riding, which is great. I'm enjoying it.
Good. Well, and that's one of the topics, I believe, on deck for today. Last time we talked about some of the small things to help reduce anxiety, like breath and water. And so today, what are we going to look at today, Heidi?
We're going to look at 3 things. Food, which kind of, piggybacks obviously onto the whole water thing that we finished off with last time. And then we're going to talk about physical touch, specifically hugs, and then going outside.
All right. Well, food is one of my favorite topics here on the Coffee Hour. So I'm all for it.
Right?
How can food be a small thing to help us with reducing anxiety?
Well, I think especially right now with the coronavirus pandemic, but then also in general in our life, our mental health is really intricately connected to our immunity and our immune system. And being aware of that whole mind-body connection is really important. So what we put in our body is fueling not only our physical health, our heart pumping and our lungs working and our muscles working, but it's also fueling our mental health and our brain health, as well as all of the endocrine system and our hormones that secrete and all of those things. And so having good food in our body is so important anytime, but especially when you're going through a difficult time, being really aware of putting good fruits and vegetables in your body primarily, and then, some protein and things added onto that, and staying away from processed foods that are harder for your body to process itself is going to be really important. It also takes a lot of energy for your body to process things that are processed foods. And so giving your body a little, pat on the back and saying, I'm going to help you out here. I'm going to give you stuff that isn't hard for you to process and to digest is going to be helpful for the whole system at large. So fresh foods reduce inflammation. Green things contain vitamin B, especially, that gives energy and helps our sleep function, which is super important when we're underneath stress and all of that anxiety that can come in with the stress going on right now. And then omegas are one of my favorite topics. Omegas is the one supplement I would say in my personal life that I can tell a huge difference when I don't take them, and especially in areas of focus and concentration. But I hear from a lot of people that have struggled with depression or even postpartum baby blues, things like that, that omegas, they can tell a difference in their mental health when they aren't taking them. So I'm not going to give you amounts and things like that. You need to talk to your healthcare provider about that. But those are some things to really look for. Some green things that contain omegas, flaxseed and fish, all of that good stuff. And then just, look in the produce aisle and stay away from the cracker aisle. That's what I would say.
but carbs.
I love crackers.
I know, me too. I'm like, I can't. I'm so guilty. I'm like, no, but I like crackers a lot. And I'm even gluten-free. But man, those nut thins, and this is not an advertisement for nut thins, but man, I want them so bad all the time right now.
Well, I've heard it put this way: shop the perimeter of the store, because that's where the fresh items usually are, because most likely they're refrigerated or kept in a, humid control as well, or moisture control as well. It's like all the produce and the refrigerated items are usually around the perimeter of the store, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I'm not a nutritionist, and I have to say that. But,
right.
as a mental health care provider, we try to be up on these things. And I know in your work that you do, too, with physical fitness and stuff, Andy, that you also try to be up on these things. I think it's really important to know that right now people are stocking up on a lot of shelf staples. I can't get rice to save my life. That's something that's kind of missing from my life right now. But I have not had a problem getting any kind of fruit or vegetable that I needed, except potatoes, which, let's be honest, that's a carb, not a vegetable. So, be the person who is able to get in on the produce aisle, because people, they're just not very mindful of the stuff that we put in our bodies in general. And right now, in particular, with stocking up, they're not going to that area anyway.
Yeah, it's hard to stock up on the fresh stuff. That's like the one benefit of my weird diet that I have to follow for my own health issues is I eat a lot of fresh food. And so when we go to the store right now, the fresh food is all still there, which is awesome for me. We could talk about food this entire program, but that wouldn't, not good. Let's talk about being outside, since that's one of my favorite things to do. What is it about being outside that is helpful to our mental health?
Yeah, being outside gives you, number one, that vitamin D boost that we talk about with the sunlight. And if you live in a place that has a long winter, often your healthcare provider will say, are you taking a vitamin D supplement in the wintertime? Because they're very aware from research that it's important for our bodies. And so we can help our bodies out by getting outside. People who get outside are also, and we don't know the reasoning as much as we know the facts of what it does. So getting outside, you are less likely to take pain medication and to take large amounts of it. So people who go outside are less likely to also complain of a lot of chronic pain or those longer lasting diagnoses like chronic fatigue and things. Going outside gives you an energy boost. It's just a stress reliever, I think, because of the open space. I cannot say, again, it's hard scientifically to judge why it's doing that. We just know that it does it. But when we are in an open space, we are less likely to feel a pent up energy, if you will. And so that internal anxiety that just roils around and around, we are less likely to feel that.
So true, so true. And I've noticed here in our own neighborhood, we live in a community where there are a lot of public trails that are multi-use and shared trails. And they have just been very busy lately, much busier than usual, because so many families have the opportunity to do that. They're not busy with other things and going places. Instead, they're going places on foot. We live in a community where you can walk to the main street area just via trails, and you can also be in the woods. 5 minutes or 15 minutes this way, you can be down in town on the square, or 15 minutes the other way, you can be out in the woods. And it's just fantastic seeing so many people take advantage of that and use it. I've been out a little bit myself, but I try to get in my walks or runs in the morning before it gets too busy out. And it's it's beautiful outside right now here in the Midwest. I feel bad for the people where it's not pretty right now, but I can tell definitely a difference when I've spent some time outside. Whether it's for me or for the whole family, we've spent some time in a nearby park, just kicking the soccer ball around, doing a little picnic and kicking the soccer ball around, just for an hour or two. And it's amazing how much of a difference it's made for us when we get back home, and just the climate at home, the way we interact is a little bit different. Not that it's super tense beforehand, but everybody just seems a little more laid back after we've had a chance to get outside and run around and play and take in all that fresh air.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I would say that there's a huge benefit, even if you aren't a person who can be really physically active for some reason or another, just being out and feeling the sunlight on your face is a really powerful thing for mental health. When you go outside, one thing I would recommend people do for their mental health is to just slow down for a second and consider every sense. So, God gave you many senses, and you at least are familiar with the 5 senses that we talk about a lot, sight, sound, taste, touch, and all of that good stuff, hearing. And so slow down and take that in. That is a mindful practice and a way to connect to God. God is the one who created all of this. And that spiritual component is going to make that awareness of the space so much more powerful. And we can stand in awe of all this that he created. And then that reminds our minds and our hearts that he's still in charge, even when it feels like coronavirus is kind of taken over, or even when it feels like all of this is really stressful. That gives us a connection to God that we may not have recognized without just standing in his sunlight and in his nature.
A great place to read the Psalms, too, outside, just reading the Psalms that point us back to the earth and the Lord. The earth is the Lord's and everything therein. It's, as you pointed out, he created it all. It's all his, to be able to read his word outside. But to bring it all together, so far, all the things that we've covered with breath and water, food, and outside. Outside is a great place to breathe, to practice the breathing exercises that we talked about. That's a great place to do that. But I want to bring in food and outside as well. A little excited for the Bates family. We, this year, have finally we've been on a waiting list, I think, for 2 years, finally gotten a plot in the local community garden. So we're pretty excited to get outside and to grow some of those green things that you were talking about earlier, so that we can eat the healthy vegetables and things. So we were making our list, planning our list. We've already got a few plants started that will be transplanted in a couple of weeks, put outside, but making a list of the vegetables. Last night we talked about 3 vegetables that we like and 1 new vegetable that we'd like to try as we're putting together our list for the garden. So excited about that. We need to take a quick break. Let's go do that, and then we'll come back. I think we're talking about hugs yet. Can we put that in the list of things to do outside too?
Always connect to that.
You're listening to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
We'll be right back.
On Monday's Law and Gospel, we will be examining a reading from the passages chosen for the following Sunday with the intent to learn what the verses say about Jesus and also to be comforted with the gospel message of how the life and sufferings of our Lord provide us with both the forgiveness of sins and the robe of righteousness.
Listen to Law and Gospel weekday mornings beginning at 9:30 on KFUO.
Hi, this is Pastor Mark Azil, the LCMS Director of Campus Ministry and the Chancellor of LCMSU, inviting you to join us right here on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. in the Student Union. If you can't make it, Student Union is always available as a podcast at kfuo.org. Learn more about LCMSU at lcmsu.org. And remember, college is tough. You need Jesus. We'll help.
Wednesday afternoon at 2 on KFUO.
Did you know that your individual retirement account may make the best gift to KFUO? The IRS now allows individuals 70 and a half or older to transfer their required minimum distribution directly to charity and avoid paying the associated income tax. These gifts can provide regular, long-term resources to KFUO. If you have questions about making an IRA gift to KFUO, call me, Mary, at 314-996-1518. We'll send a representative out to help answer your questions and help you establish a legacy of giving to your favorite radio station, worldwide KFUO.
Welcome back to the Coffee Hour. I'm Andy Bates.
I'm Sarah Gulseth.
It is Mental Health Monday on the Coffee Hour with Deaconess Heidi Goehmann. We've been talking about great things to help us with reducing anxiety. Some of the small things like breath, water, food outside, and we'll take a look at one more subject as well. Heidi, where do you want to go next as we consider these things, these small things that help us?
Yeah, let's move on to hugs. And I think when we say hugs, and remember, I have adapted this list from Brenda Jenks' Run Hard, Rest Well study that she created called Vantage Point. And she says hugs in there. And I think there's a reason for that. There's a unique kind of connection in hugs, a kind of affection transferred than shaking hands or, tapping someone on the leg. So we're looking for some affectionate touch, if you will, whatever that looks like to you. But I think hugs in particular have been researched a lot in connection to our hormone levels. And so we know that hugs, and I think to a lesser extent other kinds of physical touch, reduce cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone. And so right now we all have plenty of cortisol, right?
Yep.
Whether it's just life and it's stress that we are all under as far as facing something that we've never faced before as humanity in this time and place, if you will, but also the daily stress of a lot of people cooped up in a house or not being able to connect with those we love in the same way, not being able to go to worship in the same way, or not being able to get to our place of employment and we have a bunch of papers there. Whatever it is, we have stress happening. And so we want to take some concern for how to reduce those cortisol levels, because our body does this weird thing with cortisol where it likes to get a little bit addicted to it. So once you're secreting it and your body goes into that elevated heart rate and a little bit of fight or flight or freeze, it does tend to get a repeat where it just keeps doing it. It enjoys that a little bit. And so we want to do things that help our body come down from that. So hugs also raise oxytocin, which is the attachment hormone, which is the connecting hormone. And so you may or may not have people in your house. I think this is hardest for people that live alone. I have 5 other people that I'm connecting with at my house every day, but some people don't have that reality. So how can we get that in other ways? How can we get attachment in our lives? And eye contact is another way that our bodies are really made to attach. So you think about a baby that's being held by its mom being fed or its dad being fed, that eye contact is huge. And it's so cool when the infant has these bright eyes and looks at you. We want to re-engage in that now more than ever. So when we are disconnected from the people around us, being able to have eye contact, even if it's through a device, we want to engage in that because that's going to raise our oxytocin levels, which is a really feel-good hormone. It releases a sense of pleasure and a sense of contentment that's really unique. There's a place of less aloneness when our body is secreting oxytocin that we can't replicate. So I really recommend hugs and eye contact. That's what we're looking for.
Those are 2 really great things. Isn't there a length of time or something for a hug that it's supposed to be the most beneficial or something? I think my mom had a little newspaper, literally a newspaper clipping on our fridge from when I was a kid that explained the length of time or something that a hug is supposed to be.
Well, the Gottmans have, which Gottman.com is a really great resource for all kinds of relationships, but marriage in particular. And they have research theory that is the 6-second kiss. And so they do know that 6 seconds is a kiss with possibility. And so that's the only research that I'm really familiar with. I'm sure we could Google, hugs and a similar concept. Maybe we're not looking for possibility with the hugs, but I also heard Jason Gray, who's a Christian recording artist, and he struggles with anxiety and is really upfront about that. And he was talking about one concert I went to that the best thing someone did to him in a loss that he experienced, a deep grief, was that they hugged him and didn't let go until he was done crying. And I think that was another example of how our bodies are made to connect and to kind of absorb some of that energy and rejoice and suffer together in very unique ways that we may or may not understand scientifically. Jesus is the creator of these bodies, and he's also the connector, and that's a really cool thing.
So we could probably spend a whole episode on this, but some people are just really uncomfortable with hugs, and some are really uncomfortable with eye contact as well. But maybe that's a topic for individual therapy rather than to address on the coffee hour. But and certainly during this time of pandemic, hugs are good with the people in your own household. Like you said, though, not everybody has people in their own household. This is not the time to go out and start hugging everybody on the street when
right.
you're outside enjoying the outdoors.
Social
disclaimer.
Distancing and all that. Well, I hear people say the words like virtual hug a lot and things like that. And I think there is some benefit to the language we use. Knowing that someone wants to connect with you in that way, that's a really powerful thing. And I like what you're saying about dialing into our individual experience. Why are we struggling if someone wants to physically connect with us? That's a really good question for individual therapy. I think also respecting neurodiversity, and a lot of times people who are on a sensory processing or autism spectrum might really struggle with eye contact. Like you said, we do know that eye contact is the primary way our bodies understand comfort and consolation and compassion. And so even in our family, we have one who's on a neurodiverse spectrum, and the psychologist really works with us to develop some eye contact where we can, and even looking somebody in the face. So just know where you're at and just work to widen that window just a little bit. You don't have to go wild, and you can be upfront about what you can handle. That's good for your mental health too. But we're always working to grow just a little bit, just a little bit more is a good thing. And when people can't give it to us, know that Jesus is there. He touches us with his word, and that's not a small thing, that we can pick it up and hold it in our hands. Did you guys want to talk about the holy kiss of the New Testament? Because I think that's a pretty cool thing that
What? Yes.
the holy kiss of the New Testament. Well, I just thought it was really unique that Paul uses it a lot, and he talks about it. If you look in the letters to the different churches, he really recommends greeting each other with a holy kiss. And I'm just shocked by this over and over again, because I don't think we picture the biblical culture as really affectionate, if you will. I don't think we picture that timeline as this place that's real lovey and kissy and stuff. And so the holy kiss instead just reminds us that there's this, other cultures practice this, where they greet each other. And obviously we're not going to do this with social distancing and such. But there is a place for affection in the body of Christ. And how then, in our unique place and space right now, when we aren't able to go to worship together and even sit beside each other in this worship space and in the Bible study space, how do we participate in affection for one another instead in different ways?
That's a good point.
We've been connecting a lot more over video chatting. My friends and I, we Facebook message a whole bunch in text, but now we're starting to do video chats more, just so we have a little bit more of that closeness, so we can see each other and show each other around our houses or eat lunches together, or that kind of thing. So we're connecting in even more ways right now, even though we don't live near each other anyway, necessarily. So we don't get together in person that often. But we're finding even more ways to connect with each other so we can have some of that closeness.
Well, I was thinking about the eye contact. And you're talking about, sorry, my brain and all the gears were turning. We have only like 2 minutes left. All the gears were turning. I don't know if you can hear the gears turning, but I can. And when you're talking about we can't gather for worship in the ways that we have in the past. And so a lot of congregations are doing streaming services and or pre-recorded services that you can listen to or watch online, things like that. I know our congregation has been doing that as well. Some have been looking at other ways that we can gather without actually physically being right next to each other. And some have been looking at if it's permissible in their municipalities to have a drive-in service where they pull into the parking lot and the congregation has a small transmitter that's a legal broadcast system that they can use so everyone can listen to the service in their car while still seeing pastor or others leading outside. And I thought, why would that be advantageous over just watching something online? Well, coming back to the eye contact thing that you were talking about, we could actually see each other in the cars, and just the presence, seeing others in the parking lot, other cars there and other members of the congregation, just to physically see that they're still there, that they still are a part of the body of Christ, and that we're gathering as much as we can to some degree without, while still also being safe as well. We only have like 30 seconds left. Anything that you want to add to that as we wrap up today, Heidi?
Yeah, I would just say, especially to pastors and church leaders, to just consider how people are feeling right now and what they need right now. That's how people feel in general with their mental health. It's just heightened right now. And so just paying close attention to one another's needs and our ability to do that is going to really serve us well as the body of Christ long term in tackling the stigma of mental health.
Mental Health Monday with Deaconess Heidi Goehmann. Heidi, always great to chat with you. Talk to you next Monday.
Thanks. See you next time for Gratitude.
I'm N.B. Bates.
I'm Sarah Golseth.
The Coffee Hour with Andy and Sarah is a production of KFUO. To support the Coffee Hour and KFUO Radio, visit KFUO.org. You can also text KFUO to 41444 or send an email to gifts@KFUO.org. And you can call us at 800-844-0524. KFUO. Christ for you, anytime, anywhere.